Hello, folks. Here we go. Howdy, hey, hi there. We'll start the show. We've been in movies, been on TV. That makes us celebrities. Tom Wilson and Christopher Lloyd. We are very important. Kapow. Exactly. Through the air. Lose your worries, forget your cares. You people in back should be sitting up here because sometimes I spit when I sing. Just what to do. We're guys you've seen on TV, and face it, people on TV are better than you. People on TV are just better than you. Kim Kardashian, Donald Trump, Anderson Cooper, and us. Hey, we've started showbiz. I paid my dues. You gotta give me credit. You can't refuse. Hey, I know a guy who knows Tom Cruise. Yes, I'm that connected. Back to the Future, Freaks and Geeks. I was in a big movie called The Heat. My resume is longer than 50 feet, though a lot of it is unimpressive. I was on a TV show with Scott Baio. It didn't go very well. You might think you don't like me. You think I'm on an ego trip. Well, I don't care because I'm famous, and that's more important than relationships. Things more important than relationships. Tom Wilson, he's kind of famous. He has lost all of his friends. Big whoop. Tonight's gonna be the best. A showbiz party, a big success. Just lower your standards, start expecting less, and let those lowered expectations start with me. I have asthma, yeah. I'm not done, Moses. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm done.
I think there are probably a few people out here who grew up on the Back to the Future movies, yeah? I don't want to ask you specifically about the Back to the Future films to start off with. I'm curious about what you were fans of growing up, what it was that captured your imagination in a way that so many people out here love the Back to the Future films. What were you into, Tom? What was your go-to thing as a kid?
Snow White.
and later on, we see you in movies killing all these cartoons.
Yeah. What goes around comes around.
You didn't like anything?
I liked a lot of things. I think, I was raised in television culture, that when Mom and Dad would turn on the TV and we'd just be hypnotized. So I loved Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck. I loved Foghorn Leghorn. I loved Speedy Gonzales. But then I grew up to be, you grow up to be 5 or 6. Then everything is revolutionized for little boys because Batman became a television show with Adam West.
Yes.
The real Batman.
Yeah.
And so I just loved all those shows. And then, we were brought up like everybody now, just on television, watching the shows. Then I was a teenager, and on Friday night we would watch The Brady Bunch, The Partridge Family. We learned about social justice and questions like that on a sitcom called Room 222.
Yeah.
Where where not only was entertainment, but it was the very beginning in the 70s of, well, maybe we could talk about what's happening in society and in television programs and things like that. So I was a big fan of those shows. You know, as I got older, I'm not. For being a part of Back to the Future, I'm not familiar with the folklore, the worlds of, say, Star Trek or Star. I mean, I saw the first 3 Star Wars, and those are the only ones I've seen. You know, so it was fun. It was a good movie, but it was just for I was sort of adultish then, and I'd never seen a Star Trek. People are like, you what? I don't know. I know the characters, but I didn't. But superhero shows, Superman and Batman, I loved.
Have you, in the voice acting that you've done, have you gotten to voice any characters that you were a fan of when you were a kid?
I can't believe the fact that I've had fist fights in voiceover with Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, and SpongeBob SquarePants. I fought Superman in live action when Dean Cain was Superman. I fought Superman in animation. I played Superman on Mad TV, so it's pretty obscure. I know, hard to believe, but I was Superman for one brief window, one episode. So that was unbelievable to me. That to be a part of that kind of thing, just fighting Batman.
About SquarePants.
SpongeBob SquarePants, I fought many times. I fought him as Reg the Bouncer of the Salty Spittoon. Welcome to the Salty Spittoon. The Strangler. I am the Strangler! So I fought SpongeBob as Flats the Flounder. Hey, SpongeBob, I'm Flats, I'm gonna kick your butt. So SpongeBob, in his wonderful innocence, who wins at everything by not even doing anything except being innocent, was wonderful. So yeah, so I fought a lot of people in cartoons.
Let me ask you, SpongeBob specifically, did you get to do those recording sessions where there were multiple members of the cast together, or did you record
No, we did.
So you got to play directly off of Tom Kenny?
Absolutely.
It was just a big old nerd.
Tom, wonderful. Well, Tom was in stand-up comedy with me, so I've known Tom for years. I had worked with Bill Fagerbacke, who was Patrick Starfish, and these guys. But at Nickelodeon, it was relatively early in the age when they were making a cartoon. They finally figured out, wait a minute, let the actors perform the script in as crazy and funny way as possible, and then that sound will animate to the actor's track, not the other way around. We won't make the cartoon and then have the actors watch it and fill in. So it was a very free and improvisational kind of working environment, which was really exciting. And Steven Hillenburg, to make up this, I remember early on at Nickelodeon, you're thinking, so let me get this straight, it's a sponge. Not a natural sponge, like a sponge that you buy at the grocery store. And he has square pants. And he lives in Bikini Bottom. And they sing songs. And he's just completely, yes, that's the idea. Okay. Whatever, guys. And then you start SpongeBob SquarePants. I mean, it was just huge. So anyway, during the makings of the SpongeBob, and Tom, or Bill, they would have children at the set. And they would come up to me, and they would say, Tom, hey, can you do me a favor? When my kids come up, will you do a little Back to the Future thing? Will you knock them on the head? Hello, anybody home? That kind of thing. So I would do it, and we would take pictures and all those things. So there's a party for SpongeBob, and my children come with me. And I make an announcement to the cast. I say, since I've been Biff from Back to the Future, to all of your children, whenever you asked, when I bring up my kids, you'd better do SpongeBob voice. And you better be Patrick Starfish until I say it's all right to stop.
I've got a couple more for you guys while I'm being selfish, but I want to make sure that most of the time we reserve for audience questions. We have a microphone set up right over here in the aisle. Go ahead and start lining up. We'll let you guys get lined up. Christopher, again, while I'm being selfish, I dearly, deeply love the Addams Family movies that you made.
the time we got to doing the second film, whichever it was, we felt like, and Carol Kane, we felt like a very weird family, like a genuine.
You were doing the job very well then.
I just had, when I was a kid, got a magazine with the Charles and Adams cartoons in every week, and I don't think I know how to read yet. I would get it just to look at the cartoons. There was usually a Charles Adams cartoon, including a cartoon about Adams family, and often Uncle Fester. And I loved Uncle Fester. I guess there was a kind of devilish sort of mischievous nature about him, and he's kind of working looker and all that. And so, and then decades later, I get a call. They're asking whether I'd be interested in playing Uncle Fester. It was like, don't happen very often. I mean, the odds, So it was like I could now play my cartoon fantasy. Like, it was kind of cool.
So I got one Back to the Future question for the two of you. How well did you get to know each other over the course of making those 3 films? Would you say that your relationship has gotten deeper doing all these conventions together, or were you already, pretty good pals on the set of making the Back to the Future movies?
Could you synthesize that?
Were we pals on the set of Back to the Future, or has that grown since we've been together? Does that answer? Look, people think that we had met. It became an internet thing. That, Tom was the guy, the big guy, and Chris had never met on the Back to the Future set. We had never been in a scene together. But the way that the film was shot was there would be some Biff scenes, or Michael would come. Michael was coming from Family Ties. So he would have a few scenes with me, a few scenes with Chris. They would go into the laboratory or whatever. So Chris and I were always around each other, and certainly friendly toward each other, but I was sort of young. It was the first big movie I'd done, so I was trying to just stay out of his way and allow him to do his work in whatever way that was. And but I mean, we got along very
Why
well.
can't we go back to that?
Your wish is my command. But I couldn't. What do I say? I mean, it sounds like he's on stage, so I'm saying this, but what an actor that I admire, and that's why I was shutting up. I wanted to learn. I wanted to just keep my mouth shut and watch what he did, watch what a professional actor at the top of his game does and how he works, and I wanted to learn from that. So I was just trying to stay out of people's way and learn. And then one time, I told you this, that he was coming on, I was singing, I'm a goofball. So I was singing in the makeup chair as Chris is coming into the trailer, and I'm in the middle of the song, so I figure I should stop. But wait, if I stop, it'll look like I'm uncomfortable, and then it'll be a thing where I was uncomfortable with him coming in. So I just keep singing. So I'm just, pencils come from Pennsylvania, vests from West Virginia, New Jersey gives us glue, but you come from Rhode Island. I turned to him, little old Rhode Island is famous for you. And I think he's going to say, get out of the makeup trailer. And he just said, that was beautiful. So we were fine and great. And as I say to people, that we all know how great his performance is, but I try to point out, watch the movie again and see the subtleties of it, because it's very easy to think, oh, I know the performance because of the voice, and it's easy to caricaturize. Just, oh, Marty, that thing that impressionists will do. Whatever, that's easy. Not if you watch the movie. If you watch the movie, it's a very sophisticated, layered performance about a scientist, but he cares about the kid. He's in the middle of an emergency. He has to do both so much heart work and then so much exposition in explaining to the audience the time travel elements that it was working with a spectacular actor at the absolute top of his game. And anything, believe me, this guy.
And then he comes along.
So let's go to audience questions. We got a line.
I'm Jeff, and this question's for Chris specifically. No offense, Tom. God bless America. So Chris, my question to you is, coming off of Back to the Future, you did Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and you had played the villain Judge Doom, as everybody knows. So my question is, how hard was it to transition into the villainous Doom after playing such a wacky, albeit fun, and just loving character in Doc Brown?
From Back to the Future, Doc Brown, into Doom in Roger Rabbit, that transition.
Oh, that was no problem. I relished that part. Back to the Future was something that came up at that time in my life, but that kind of villain is something I just, as a kid, I just always enjoyed, like Spy versus Spy comics, the two nutty crows. I felt I looked like that. It was something that I really loved doing.
I appreciate that. I was born in '92. You were the first villain in my nightmares. So
Hi, huge fan of my comedy idols. I have a question for Tom. You famously at one point carried cards with answers to questions that you were sick of. So I feel like I'm in a weird spot because I'm here to ask a question. And that question is, how many irritating questions and or cash would it take to obtain one of those cards if you have them on you right now?
Are you asking Tom, does he have a price?
So you're telling me that I have them on me right now? Would you like to come up and frisk me, sir? See what I have, like you just said.
If you have them, a verbal reply would be fine.
You might get more than a verbal reply. I did, it was not a question that I'm so sick of that I can't stand talking about. It was a funny thing. Because people, you meet people at a barbecue, you meet people in the street, you meet people at Restoration Hardware looking for doorknobs. And they come up. And I knew why they came up, and I knew what they wanted to talk about. So I made a postcard that in minutiae, tiny print, it just sort of printed out every answer to every question you could possibly think of Back to the Future. I did a podcast, the Nerdist podcast with Chris Hardwick. Chris said, you have this postcard, and I had them at that point. I take out when I get to them. And, it was just a big thing on the podcast. They make a big deal. Oh my gosh.
One or two people listen to that.
Yeah, so just a few. So it went from Nerdist podcast to Reddit to Gawker to every kind of pop cultural podcast, and it became a thing. It became a sensation, and then I really stopped being a human being. I was a postcard dispenser. I don't even want to talk to you at all. I don't want to sell nothing. Give me a postcard. I want a postcard. So I gave out many, many hundreds of thousands of postcards, and then I allowed the printing to stop of the postcards. It became a thing that was bigger than all of us. So I let the postcard lapse. You can do an internet search on many places. You can see the postcard, you can see the back of the postcard, and it became a famous thing. Will you get one? No.
would be your favorite?
Which was your favorite performance, Chris, of all of your performances? Well, look, I'll answer the questions for you if you want, because I know the answers. You weren't impressed by Snow White. No.
What was the question?
Oh, you don't repeat it now. What was your favorite, the role that really did it for you that you performed? You'd like to know. What was your favorite role to perform?
What?
Acting role. What do you think? Singing role? What was your favorite role to perform? Acting. You know, acting. Not gymnastics, Chris.
I guess, seriously though, wow. My first show was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It came after my getting to a point that I just thought, see, some actors don't make the bridge from stage to film or the big screen. And I was beginning to think, because I, in my time in New York, I've been to countless movie interviews, auditions, zilch. So I figured that, and so that experience of doing that film with everybody who was in it, and the script, and the part, just to me, that was can't you know how that stuff that I really like. That was special.
Okay, and I had another quick question, specifically for you, Christopher. I don't know if you remember this, a long time ago you were in a game called Tombstruck. It was a point-and-click adventure game. You played a cartoon artist named Drew Blank, who was sucked into a cartoon world. You were green screened in, and I wondered if you could give me some insight into what that was like, what doing that was like.
The game Tombstruck, the game, and being inserted into the game, what was that like?
You know, I don't remember it distinctly enough to tell you what it was.
I'll answer for Chris. It was a fascinating world. To do a performance in green screen and then get put into a game. You can't quite put it into more words than other than it was fascinating.
Hi.
For some reason,
That's not play. That's not consent. was such a joy to work with her because because acting, well, it's a long story that I'll try to make sure, but acting like a bully to me was the first time I'd ever done anything like that. I was sick when I was in school. I missed a lot of school. I was beaten up by bullies. And the first big role I got in a movie, I was playing a bully. It was against my nature. It was against my what I could do as an actor. I really thought it was maybe beyond me to really personalize these things and do these scenes. And we were in the car. When things had to get dark. Because Biff had to, the story has to turn. The story has to get serious. So that George, because the big moment in the movie, George McFly saying, "No, Biff, you leave her alone." That's the heart of the movie's right there. The entire audience said, "Yes, this has to happen." But I have to be bad in that car. It has to be dark. So I'm being mean. And Leah's crying. And in between takes, I'm just leaning up to her. "I'm so sorry, Leah." She's, "I know, Tom, it's acting." Just faking. This is a movie. I'm sorry, you're crying. So it's become a movie, classic movie scene. But, for me, it just wasn't fun, doing that to a young lady like that. But it's her brilliance that makes that and say, "Why don't you get out of here and find all that stuff." But the young lady has to be in there, and the audience has to say, "Wait a minute, this is real. This is really happening. He has to stop this." Which, as I said, leads to "No, if you leave her alone." And, that drives the whole thing.
And the real truth is he didn't like putting his meat hooks on me like that. He was very nice.
Yeah, now wait just a minute. Leah, I have a microphone for you. We have a chair for you.
Are we going to sing?
Yes.
That's already happened.
You missed your call time, Leah. That's the thing.
Sorry.
Well, actually, let me...
Shot for over 2 years together, and we only had one scene. We did a movie called Dennis the Menace together. Between us. We did another thing called Haunted Lighthouse together. We did another movie called The Right to Remain Silent together. And we have no scenes together. So I'm hoping someday we'll have a love scene. Was that harassment?
I mean, you're the one who's directing now, so you tell us. You're the boss.
No, it was great working with him.
We had fun. I guess, there was no strife. You know what I mean? There was nothing like, I have this story about when this happened. I think we were all getting along very well. It was hard work. You want to say, well, you get in a movie, you get there when it's dark outside, and you get home when it's dark outside, and everyone was paying very close attention because it's a big movie. They're spending a lot of money, and so the pressure was on to perform your best at every moment. But everybody got along famously. We still do. Most of us.
So I'll stop.
Let's keep going with the audience questions.
Keep piling it on, but we'll see what happens.
Hi, I was going to ask this question a little earlier, but some woman cut in front of me. So. It's okay. This is a message for Chris. I was just wondering if there were times in the past where someone would come up to you and start praising your work, saying, "Oh, you were great in this, and you were great in that," and at some point you realized they were talking about Christopher Lloyd.
It hasn't. Maybe somebody said I resembled him, maybe. Do I?
Maybe someone behind you would get confused. Thank you.
Out of all of the Back to the Future movies, which was your favorite one to film?
Leah, what's your favorite one?
Back to the Future one.
One? Back to the Future 3, because I got to be a cowboy and ride horses.
I tell people my favorite is 3 because we got to see Christopher Lloyd doing a romantic Western role at the end of this series. I hope that was your favorite.
That wasn't my favorite part about it. My favorite part was but no, it's good too.
That's true. Doc had a romance. It was my first and last film romance ever, I think. Okay, I'm waiting. Yeah, I felt the same way. And 3 was my pick too. It was horseback riding. I'm working on that steam engine, which is it's such an awesome machine with all those moving parts and all that shit.
A lot of times movies, you're on a set in a sound stage and you're talking with people and you're a lawyer or something, but sometimes you really get to do cool stuff. And they say, we have all these horses and cattle are over there, and at lunchtime the stuntmen take a ride. They say, you want to come with us, Tom? So every day, the third one, before lunch, they would saddle up the horses, and instead of having lunch, I would just ride up with these stuntmen into the foothills of the Sierra Mountains. And I'm telling you, I'm from Philadelphia. I mean, you're just riding, and in your ears, you just hear dun, 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 dun. I'm a cowboy! But it's just amazing. It's just, coming back into the western town, we're just and it's a western town. This is pretty cool. So that's cool stuff.
I remember that there's a couple of days, 2 or 3 day night shoots we had with the festival.
Sure.
And one of my all-time favorite music groups played music for the dance stuff.
ZZ Top.
Now that's the story.
Hi, my question is for Chris. I'm a huge fan of your movie Clue that you did with Tim Curry. And that movie's perfect, but one of the coolest things is that there are multiple endings, and at the time of the run, there were different endings for each movie, so people would go see it again. What did you think going into that movie? Did you think that was going to work out like it ended up working out perfectly well?
It seemed all something very kind of out there, sort of amorphous. I couldn't really get into which ending is going to be the most successful or whatever. And I don't remember which one I was in. So, there you go.
Thank you.
My name's John. Leah, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were here, so I didn't prepare to ask you this, but we touched on your voiceover career a little bit, Tom, and this is for Tom and Chris as well, but can you guys talk a little bit about your experiences since you were the only cast members to be involved in not only the animated series, but as well as the greatest ride of all time, the Back to the Future ride? It's
fun to be a part of the ride.
Yeah.
Next question.
Universal Ride.
The Universal Ride.
It always amazed me that you get that ride and you really believe it. You really believe it. You get all that
where so many rides have followed that technology. That was come up by Douglas Trumbull, who came up with the technology, did the special effects for 2001: A Space Odyssey. Was a very early special effects artist. Back when now kids won't understand this because everything is CGI now. Everything is created by computers, and someone on a desktop will make the city. This was when the computers didn't exist. So when you went through the ride, it was a model of the entire Hill Valley that was made, ready to blow your mind, that was built in order to be projected into a dome that was going to be the ride vehicle. So you're in the ride vehicle and you're following and you're going through Hill Valley. Well, if you made the city model like that, with all straight lines, if they projected into a dome, the entire city would be curved, like a photographic fisheye, right? So they had to calculate the curvature of the model itself. So this entire city was curved so that if you projected it into a dome, that all the lines would be straight. I know. But that's what they came up with, because that was, I mean, it was the end times of, computers were coming on and everything, but it was the very end of photographic special effects, which was very, very time and brain intensive to figure out how to do that. So it was really, really neat to be a part of it. And I don't know if it's coming to Boston, but advertising for Doug Trumbull, the original print of 2001: A Space Odyssey with the original soundtrack is going to big theaters. I just saw it in LA.
It's
next month.
It's early. I think it's next month, yeah.
Please go see it and see some movie history. But as you see that, you just have to keep in mind, none of this stuff was done on a computer. They did this through the camera. With models and lights lighting the spaceships and all that stuff. It's amazing. So anyway, but working with Doug Trumbull on that and having the ride, and then the ride was out, and then I remember I saw Chris once at Universal, and they would invite me for a Make-A-Wish Foundation, Starlight Foundation, and there are sick children, and they want to come to Universal, and they say, Tom, will you come and you can ride with these kids and everything. Well, I really didn't do well on the ride. I was sick very easily on the ride. So I can do it once. So put me in the thing with Jimmy and Bobby. Okay, ready to go on the ride? And they're yay. And I'm just thinking, hang in there. It's okay. We're almost going to get eaten by the dinosaur now. Oh, hang on. Don't throw up on a Make-A-Wish kid. And we're finally done. Oh, thank you. Okay. And oh, Tom, yeah, Kenny and Diana just got here. Would you tell me that? Oh, no. Oh, no. Come on in, kids. So I did the run 4 times, and the run said, please, I love these children. Don't make me do that again.
A Space Odyssey. The stars of 2001: A Space Odyssey are here at the show for the rest of the afternoon. Keir Delay and Harry Lockwood, they're down in the exhibit hall. So go see them if you haven't. If you didn't see the Q&A the other day, it was amazing. These guys are phenomenal. They have stories for days.
Let's talk about us more.
Yeah. Right there. Thank you.
How's it going, guys? Just to follow up on that last guy, I think the Simpsons ride sucks. So if you guys have been to Universal Orlando, I'm sorry, but it doesn't hold a candle all you guys had. So all 3 of you guys, I have a question for all 3 of you. Thank you, Leah. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Chris, for being here. Leah, my mom was a huge Caroline in the City fan. If she saw you were here, she'd probably pass out. Tom, I thought the ending to April Fool's Day was genius. I don't care what anybody else says, but I thought that ending was great.
It's kind of a classic, an unusual classic.
Yes, of course. I thought that ending was great. And Chris, what can't be said about you, man? You've been in a DuckTales movie, you worked with Piranhas, you worked with Hulk Hogan, you've been on Taxi, you've been doing all this stuff, but I just want to ask you guys one quick question. I love Robert Zemeckis. He's made me feel all sorts of emotions through any of his movies. Polar Express is amazing. guys say that a volleyball being lost to sea did not make you cry, you're full of it. All his stuff is great, all of his things are. I just want to know what you guys feel about working with him in general.
I loved Robert, and I'm a director now, so I really take a lot from what I learned from him as a director. He was always trying to, you worked with him more than I did, but he was always trying to pack all, he never takes you guys for granted. He always wants to give you guys the very best show he can and pack every single shot full of information that you will be able to respect. And one of the things I love about Back to the Future is that he sets a weird pace in the beginning of the movie where he tells you, look at these clues, watch these clues, they will pay off. And it starts very slowly. But I set up a joke, and 45 minutes later, Michael Fox says the punchline, and the audience was always there. When he goes, get used to those bars, kid. I mean, that's very unusual, and the way he set the pace was, I have the utmost respect for him as a director.
I just, words fail me because it was really amazing. He's very brilliant, very early, maybe before we started shooting the first one, he was describing the scenes of what the car will look like, how it will go into the future. And he said it with such excitement, but such specificity, because the movie was already playing in his head. So he knew that we're going to come around the car, and then there will not be one bang, but it will be, and then it will be two lines of fire that go down, all these kinds of things that everyone was excited about. But I will tell you, well, I'll go back before computers again. During the third movie, we're shooting a giant Western. Okay, and we've got big sets, lots of actors and everything. He would set up a shot, then he would go to a trailer. Back then, it was not computer editing. There were not computers that you were editing. It was a film deck where the film was out. He was physically editing the movie. There were two decks in the trailer. One was editing the dailies from Back to the Future 3 that we were shooting now. This one was the trailer of Back to the Future 2 and the remaining stuff that we had to do in Back to the Future 2. So at times, there were 4 films in his head at the same time. And during breaks, he would be editing on this one, editing on that one, editing a trailer for this one, and editing the thing where we have cows, horses, cowboys, and gunslingers right out about 100 feet from us. So that was incredibly impressive to me. I don't even understand how you do that. And as I said, without folders or files or a mouse or clicking, it was physically working on the film in each case. So yeah, the guy really knows what he's doing.
Thank you, guys.
Incredible technological facility he had. I remember during when we break for lunch, we'd be sitting at the table, and there'd be a couple of guys, and there was some new cutting-edge technology had to do with some aspect of filmmaking. And he'd be there eating, and just eating his lunch, but just eating up all the information that they were, he just, But at the same time, I don't know if I've known another director who could talk to an actor in a way that was really helpful. Some directors can do that to an extent. Some just don't know how to communicate to actors because we're such strange fucking animals. But Bob, I always felt so relaxed with him,
somebody on the panel. Leah, you've done some really wonderful directing work on Mom recently. What do you have coming up that you've directed on?
Oh, I directed a movie called The Year of Spectacular Men that my children are in as well. And you can get it on iTunes or Amazon. And it's a wonderful, funny movie written by my daughter, starring. And she also scored it. So I'm also doing The Goldbergs and some other things. I have a movie called Mom. A movie, not Mom, a movie called Little Women. And Sierra Burgess is a loser as an actress. Those are mine. Thank you.
So we're going to rapid fire through. I want to try to get as many of these.
Rapid fire for Tom. Big Pop Fun podcast. Really loved it. What happened to it?
Thank you. It was on the Nerdist Network at the beginning of the podcast craze. I loved doing it. It was really enjoyable, but I was my own producer. So I was creating, I was making appointments with friends of mine in order to interview them and talk to them and everything. And just with my work schedule, I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't keep it up. Something had to give. Either a free podcast or buying food. So for the while, buying food won. But I appreciate you saying that very much because I enjoy doing it. And I know there are a lot of fans of the podcast out there. And I really do appreciate that because it was a really special thing. But I'm trying to do, I also do vlogging, on YouTube on my page. You want to check it out, Tom Wilson USA. So check out the vlogs up there. And I'm directing myself a fundraising effort. I call it the Wilson Family Scholarship Fund. It's trying to make money for children named Wilson at my house. You can, for $18 a month, I have a video of them all trying to look like wayward kittens. Please, I would like the meal plan at my college.
Hi, my name's Jordan. This question is for Christopher Lloyd. I noticed that thinking about Back to the Futures, the Back to the Future trilogy, and the last time we were Roger Rabbit, I seem to remember you do a lot of yelling and screaming as Doc Brown and Judge Doom. So I'm kind of wondering, did you take some kind of lozenge or drink tea in between takes or something like that? Because you seem to do a good amount of screaming as Doc.
Did you ever lose your voice? Was so loud, such energy given. Did you have to lose your voice or use lozenges or anything? Good. I lost my voice. Most of the gunfight in Back to the Future 3 is ADR's looped. I did it after the fact because I came up with this voice, McFly, what kind of thing, So I'm doing that throughout the movie. Increasingly, I have to go kind of louder and louder because I realized I'm losing my voice. By the time we were in the gunfight, I'm just go. I had nothing. So I was acting it. We just thought we'll just wait until my voice heals and we'll go into the studio and we'll redo that voice part because it was rugged. You can get it.
But you were amazing. You could do that for take after take. You are a spectacular actor.
Well, thank you. Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Real quick, I've got a question over here. I'm going to bring a mic to you, so I'm not going to make you go to a mic. What do you got for us?
For all three of you, how are you most like your characters on Back to the Future, and how are you least like your characters on Back to the Future?
Great question.
Well, I played so many characters. Not quite so horny as first. I have a crush on my son. Yeah, good life choices. I think I'm most, I don't know, maybe because there were so many different characters, I am like her because I'm a Gemini and I'm an actress, so I have a lot of different characters in my arsenal of human behavior. How about you? You're a lot like Biff, right?
Exactly like him. think you got it, but you're not sure. You just don't know. You're going out there, it takes a lot of guts to get out there, to get on a stage, to get into one of those rooms with big directors and everything, and audition and just go for it. But you're not sure. So as a young person, to be challenged in such a way, challenged that you know, say, you're gonna have to play different characters, different ages of the same person, then a different entire person within that family, so close, but different. An ancestor who's an actual, and to have to figure that out and perform it in that way and have fellow actors or directors say, hey man, that was really good. You know, I think, wow, it's like the end of Field of Dreams, you know? Hey rookie, you were good. So that was very, very special to me. An uncomfortable part of it, as I said, was being a bully. But I do think that that's important too, because I was bullied and I realized, and I think it's wonderful that bullying is such an issue now, that people are talking about it, that people are saying it's wrong. It is wrong to be like that. And I think in being a part of that, yes, I played the bully, but I was in a movie where the guy loses and should lose. Where it was pointed out, you know, and I've been asked to write letters, to help out kids who have a family who are being bullied, and to tell them about my experiences and everything. And that's been a wonderful part of it for me. My least favorite part. I just won't say anything about that. How are you most like Doc and least like Doc?
Question.
That's what you just said.
I'm just not sure how my least are. I must be trying not to admit something. But I got really excited on things now and then. Maybe. At least like Doc is that I don't have a clue how the universe works.
Now I've got good news, bad news, and good news. The good news is that was a great question. The bad news is that was the last question we had time for. Because of the last good news that we have, which is all three of them are going to be back at their tables in the exhibit hall right after we're done here. We're going to get them down there so that they can see as many of you as we possibly can get through before the end of the show. Does that sound good to everybody?